Joining me now is California Congressman Robert Garcia. He is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, good to see you again. So, Black denied any wrongdoing and said he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes, even though he remained a primary client after Epstein was convicted in 2008 of sex crimes. What more can you tell us about Black's testimony, and what answers do you want when he testifies under oath?
Well, look, it's really wild that Leon Black gave $170 million to Jeffrey Epstein. $170 million for, honestly, we don't know what. He says tax advice, financial advice. There's no real accounting of it. And then, of course, we asked very basic questions of Mr. Black, including information about these non-disclosure agreements, including information about a real credible descriptions from survivors about what may have happened to them as it relates to abuse and rape. And he was unwilling to answer our questions. And so what happened instead is he stormed out of our interview that just happened last week after the committee served him with two new subpoenas, one for all of the NDAs so that we can actually see those, and the second for him to actually come back under oath in a deposition that would then be where he can't essentially weasel his way out of not answering questions, which he did this last week. And so those were two positive moves. They were bipartisan in support. And it's really important that Leon Black come and answer questions about the abuse allegations, about the money, about the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We also know that Leon Black possibly traveled with President Trump, and there's a relationship there between Epstein, Black, and Trump. And so all of those questions are going to be important.
So the DOJ has until Thursday to release several unredacted Epstein files, or at least explain why it can't, after a federal judge accused Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche of improperly redacting documents. And DOJ maintains that the redactions protect victims' identities. What are the documents in question, and how significant are they? And is this an important development in compelling the DOJ to release all the files?
It absolutely is important development. I think, of course, Katie Phang and so many others that have been out there putting these lawsuits forward. As it relates to what's happening this upcoming week, the DOJ has to produce the additional documents. There are about 3 million documents that have not been released. And the DOJ won't actually tell us what they are. They say, oh, some are duplicates, some are privileged. Well, we don't know. The American public need to understand that half of the Epstein files have not been released. And Donald Trump and Todd Blanche just want to move on, like somehow they've released all the documents. In fact, they haven't released anything. And of what they've actually put out there, as you know, oftentimes survivors have been doxxed. Their information has been public. They've been put in danger. And so, look, half the files have been released. The other half need to be released. And that judge is doing the absolute right thing. And we hope that the DOJ and Todd Blanche also do the right thing.
I got to say, with those redactions, you have to wonder if it was just a shoddy job or if it was intentional, because it's just everywhere, the mistakes, quote unquote. Anyway, I do want to ask you about what you're demanding, which is the answers from two companies awarded no-bid contracts to renovate the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool at a cost of over $16 million. Soon after being refilled, this pool has developed severe maintenance issues, including that bright green algae bloom, its peeling of its newly applied American flag blue waterproof coating. So if incompetence is to blame, will there be a congressional investigation into how these contracts were awarded?
In fact, we've started an investigation already. It's so sad that, on the birthday, a huge celebration, huge anniversary for this country, people can't even visit the reflecting pool in the district in Washington, D.C. because of this just huge botching of this job that Donald Trump and these contractors have put in place. Look, this has been a total disaster. Donald Trump has spent now, 14, 15, 16 now $million to essentially put the pool in worse shape than it was before this started. And all of the stories that Donald Trump is telling about some sort of box cutter cutting the bottom of the pool, they're just lies. They did a terrible job. The folks that got the job were Donald Trump donors. One admitted that he'd never even worked on a federal project. There's possibly one other project. No real experience in doing a project of this magnitude. And this is what happens when you have no bid contracts. Donald Trump tried to use some loophole in the law to just hand out contracts to buddies or folks that he thought could do the job. When we know that these things always go through a large public review and public bidding process. And so now we're going to have to spend God knows how much more money to get the pool back to where it was before Donald Trump created this mess. And oversight Democrats have reached out to both of the companies involved and asked a series of questions about how the Trump administration got engaged and what they plan to do about to fix the pool.
In terms of what Trump says, calling it all vandalism, the like, 6 people arrested, government documents that were obtained by the New York Times, that undercuts his claims. Have you seen any evidence of vandalism?
There's been no evidence of vandalism. I mean, what's crazy is that Donald Trump is the biggest liar in the history of American politics. He's out there, just has no problem lying directly to the American public, saying there's all this vandalism and that's why the pool is closed. He knows that's not true. It's because the contractors, they ruined the pool. It's covered in algae. The paint is chipping. Paint's being essentially comes back up to the top. It's not the color they intended. The pumps are not working. And now Donald Trump has sent the National Guard to arrest people and charge them that are out there visiting the pool. And so, again, this is all part of Donald Trump's corruption. It's sad that he's now choosing to damage and ruin America's monuments, whether it's the White House and the ballroom, whether it's this Archie's building, whether it's, of course, the Kennedy Center, the reflecting pool. Everything he touches turns into a disaster. And we've got to investigate every single one of these decisions and ensure they don't happen again.
It is a relentless job for you, that's for sure. Congressman Robert Garcia, thank you, my friend. Good.